Hi, everyone.
Hey,
I'm Alicia,
and I'm Meredith.
and this is Summer is Fun, a Summer House podcast. We've made it to the final reunion of season 7. Honestly, this was the best episode of the whole fucking
Yeah,
season.
but am I crazy to say like this even was disappointing? I thought it would be a little bit more like fiery.
I was just fucking screaming because like the ability to not communicate. Like it's not even like the inability to communicate, it's the ability to not communicate with each other is wild.
Even when we're on like a stage.
Even when Andy is literally like, let me map this for everyone. Frustrating. I fucking screamed.
I want to bury this season and never talk about it again.
I'm done with it. Yeah. So before we get into it, check us out on the A&M Podcast Network. We have this podcast. We have It's About the Pasta Vanderpump Rules podcast, which is also ending this week. And we have One Season Wonders, the show where we only have one fan, but we love it. Okay, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe. Meredith, we have 2 new reviews. God, if they would fucking load. Here we go. We have I gotta scroll down. We got some reviews. Okay, we have 2 new reviews on this podcast. One's a 5-star, one's a 1-star. I'm gonna start with the 5-star because I might go and do a whole on the 1-star. So here's the 5-star. From Maria Yvonne C. Oh God, I'm gonna get eaten alive. Anyway, 5 stars, longtime listener, says, hello there, fellow podcaster here. She does a Jersey Girl.
Love.
I think we've talked about maybe a Jersey Girl. I'm familiar with that podcast. And also, or no, sorry, I'm an idiot. Fucking cut this out. Don't cut it out because people should know how stupid I am. The podcast is called A Canuck and a Jersey Girl.
Gotcha.
But I'm familiar with it, and I was like,
you're shorthanding it.
Yeah, sorry. He says, I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry, Maria. I won't be offended if you change this to 1 star. Maria says, I love your podcast. Always have. I gave it 5 stars because you said you got a 4.5 today on the finale episode. You did. I'm listening to Reunion Cap now. So far, I agree with everything, including not liking Paige's dress. Thank God, Maria. And then says, I'm also Team Danielle. I've referenced your pod on my pod once or twice. Keep up the good work. Love you, girls.
Thank you so much.
And her Instagram is your new favorite Bravo page, but Paige is spelled like Paige, the name, like Paige DeSorbo.
Yes,
I know who this
is the one who reposted our
podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was so cool. I don't know how to do stuff like that.
Everyone go follow Maria. It's your _new_ favorite _Bravo page, like
as
the
in
name,
the name.
Yeah. Everyone go follow. Thank you so much, Maria. And then we have a 1-star review from Squeaky.
Sorry. Well, you just said Squeaky.
Squeaky.
You were so peppy with it for being a 1-star.
I know. So Squeaky titled this "Bye" and said, this is one Republican that is so tired of being bashed. I don't care about your political beliefs and don't appreciate being bashed for mine. Liked your show, but will not support shows that openly bash a whole group of people due to how they vote. Thanks, Squeaky. This is me. I know it is because I think I said, ugh, Corey's a Republican. And what I meant by that was, ugh, Corey's a transphobic Republican. Truthfully, I don't care how you fucking vote as long as you don't hate upon a group of people for just living their fucking lives and trying to take their rights away. Other than that,
and the goal is like not to make this a political podcast.
Yeah,
this is supposed to be fun, but when real life converges with these stars,
yes,
it's hard not to address it.
It happened on Vanderpump Rules. There were 3 stars that were racist and homophobic and were removed from the show rightfully. So I said someone said Corey was transphobic in a comment, so I was like, I gotta do research. He himself has not posted anything about being transphobic. I think that's why Bravo/Bravo fans have not like called for his removal, whereas like the other cast members this has happened to have
said and had horrible actions.
However, Corey follows a lot of like very right-winged accounts and he likes the posts regarding transphobia
Interesting.
And not supporting trans people. He really likes a lot of those videos about what bathroom should they use. So that's a big thing. And it's very recent posts. So he's still doing this and he follows a lot of them. I went deep creep. I also learned that, guys, if you were on the Giggly Squad Facebook group, can you please let me know what the fuck was said in there? Because I read there was a lot of horrible racist, anti-Semitic, just horrible. Oh my God, my watch came to life. No,
even Siri isn't about it.
But a bunch of shit like that, and Paige and Hannah, I guess, did nothing.
Did they shut it down?
No, I think eventually, but they didn't actually shut down the comments. They moderated the comments that were saying, hey, don't use the N-word because A, you're white, and B, that's a horrible thing to say.
Yeah.
And those comments were the ones that were moderated, not the actual comment with the N, where a white woman called someone or used the N-word. So wild. Also, if you just Google Paige DeSorbo problematic, you will find a tweet thread, probably 40 tweets long, about how problematic she is. So I recommend we do that because it is important to know who we support as people versus a TV show where everyone's probably fucking trash.
Yeah, we're commenting on what we see on the show.
Yeah,
there's so much else going on behind the scenes.
Now I don't want to support Giggly Squad separately. Not that I did before, but now I super don't want to because they're super problematic. Also, we unfollowed Everett because fuck him. He's officially never it forever. Okay,
legit. We are never it.
We are never about Everett. How about that one? Okay, so great. Glad I shared that. Anyway, back to our intro. Follow us on Instagram at Vanderpasta. Now is the time I will post tweets because now I can get all my thoughts together.
We're back, baby.
And join our Patreon, patreon.com/Vanderpasta. Let me tell you what you can get. For $1 a month, you get access to all of our pre-shows where Meredith and I talk about whatever we want. We'll have to do one soon because I guess the finale of Manifest came out. I saw it on my TikTok.
Alicia, I meant to tell you that before we started film or recording.
I know our Patreons are just so thrilled to hear my thoughts.
I was in my mind thinking about when's the next time we're gonna do a free show.
On the girl with the eyebrows.
I haven't watched it yet, so don't worry.
Oh, I'm gonna need a full recap, so no worries. Also, you get access to any episodes we record early, including this one. For $2 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus, when we go back and we watch old seasons, we'll do an after show so we can talk about Bravo News. And also, we'll say your name on the podcast. Whoops, I didn't pull that up. That's the one thing I fucking forgot.
That's totally okay.
So,
while you're doing that, I actually have something to share about not Patreon stuff, but please stay tuned on our page because we already recorded season 3 of Summer House. And it's been on Patreon for a while. So if you want it now, and if you want seasons so early in advance, Patreon, even in the off season, is the place to go. But that will all be dropping at the end of June.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to drop it all in one day. I decided because we're going to quickly move on to Summer House, Martha's Vineyard.
Holy shit. We got no time.
I know.
Okay. So I got the Patreon. So thank you to Brittany, Chris, Danae, Darby, Dee, Dustin, Gabriella, Jackie, Jamie, Casey, Katie, Kelsey, Chrissy, Lady Swamp Witch, Laura, Lauren, Sarah, Cameron, Tierney, Tonette, Tracy, Amy, Emily, Gina, Jennifer H, Jennifer T, Kirsten, Sarah, Taylor, and Tiffany. Ooh. I'm gonna miss all you guys now that the season's over. This is when our slow start begins, which I
don't know. People stayed around last summer, so I'm really excited for how fun it's gonna be. There's a lot gonna be happening.
Once Meredith and I are not recording 2 episodes a week, plus watching the shows, plus trying to do all the shit, we will sit down and discuss the Patreon and maybe we revamp it, add new things. We just need a fucking minute to do it. But thank you so much. And then for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus for live shows, which are over this week. So sorry. But for live shows, you get to give us your thoughts, questions, opinions, concerns, and we will read them on the podcast. We call it Patreon by the people. Patreon by the people.
Podcast by the people.
Fuck me. I don't know what we call it because I'm a big idiot. And also we'll pick a patron of the episode, but I can't. It's a season finale. I don't pick patrons of the episode officially in the season finale. I love you all so much. Please don't leave, but if you do, I understand, but come back.
That's it. That's it. See you if you have to. We totally understand.
You know
See you
that
in
song?
February.
Baby, come back to me. In my heart, I still believe we were meant to be together. So whatever it takes, that's this Patreon for me. I'm gonna add that to our bio. Don't even worry about it.
Oh Lord.
Okay, so sorry. So I think that's it.
There is a get to know you that we could fill out on Patreon, so you can just put it there.
I'm fucking hilarious, everyone. Okay, we can get into this episode. So I screamed, I cried, I laughed. This whole episode had me on a roller coaster.
Really? I felt the opposite. I felt like it was
Oh.
it was cut so weird. I felt like the people's faces we were getting while other people were talking, I was so confused.
I truthfully wasn't really watching. I was typing notes a lot.
Totally understand that. I just literally was like, get this off my screen. I'm so done with this season.
Great. Oh my God. Opposite opinions. I'm a little nervous.
The most I got excited for was lunchtime conversations.
Oh my God. Okay, great. Let's get into it. So previously, emotions were high. Lindsay, Danielle, Kyle with the cheating rumor about Lindsay, Carl and Lindsay, being together. Paige thinks they're fake. Danielle tells Lindsay she has hatred in her bones. That is my favorite quote from this. When Lindsay's like, I don't have hatred in your bones. And Danielle goes, yes, you do.
You do.
That's my favorite. I would never, like, that's wild. Okay. So we pick up with Paige and Lindsay arguing. This is where Paige calls Lindsay nuts. And Lindsay says, I'd rather be nuts than boring. And Paige goes, bitch, under her breath, which is awesome. Okay. So Andy asks if Amanda's ever had a problem with Carl and Lindsay dating. Amanda says no, they're going to figure it out. Amanda here knows how to walk a middle line.
Amanda crushes it this episode. She is the star student.
She shuts up when she needs to shut up, and she plays both sides of the field perfectly. She's on the line.
And she knows how to get Kyle to do what she what the group needs.
I loved it. Okay, so then we talk about Carl and Lindsay's wedding. They're getting married in Mexico in November, 6 months from this reunion. I hope they get married on my birthday. So the housemates that are invited, they're working on it. They haven't sent anything out yet. They only want people there that support the relationship. Carl says there are a few people that are going to be there from this reunion.
Okay, if you had a guess, who do you think would be invited right now?
Kyle and Amanda.
I think Sam, Gabby,
and Corey,
Chris,
Gabby,
Corey, everybody on their side, and Kyle and Amanda. Because I feel like they're actually really good on good terms.
Yes, I agree. Also, though, I don't know if I'd want someone I just met at my wedding. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if Chris, Sam, Gabby, they'll be invited. But also
Lindsay seems pretty close with Sam.
If Lindsay doesn't have a lot of other friends at this is her job, right?
That's true.
Maybe she'll invite them.
Also, is she shopping this around to be filmed? No hate on it though. No
hate, but would love for Danielle to be there.
100%.
I think tensions would be high and I would love that. Anyway, because I'm a messy bitch. Anyway, Kyle and Carl's bromance. Carl wanted to meet other guys this summer, all us do hope to meet a guy in the summer. That was Carl's dream. He also was burnt out at Loverboy. And then Kyle went on a drunken rant about Carl. And went on a drunken rant calling Lindsay a psycho. So what's the status of their relationship? Carl says there's definitely a change in friendship and it's hard to work with friends and a changing lifestyle as Carl is trying to be sober or is sober but working on it.
Yeah.
Carl takes responsibility and says he didn't really open up to Kyle as much as he should have. And Kyle says he knew work was getting hard and Carl's role was shifting and he was trying to give Carl the leeway to figure it out. But Kyle also felt taken advantage of.
Which this is so real. It's really hard when you know work isn't working for you, but you're so scared to say something. I can't imagine also being friends with my boss.
That'd be if you one day were like, so I'm not going to do this podcast anymore. And I'd be like, wait, what? When are we going to hang out?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'd be like, do you still want to have Zoom calls or?
Can you imagine?
We just
that would be
released the pre-show as our new podcast. and
That
it's
would
like,
be really
"Okay."
hard because I have never told so many friends about my podcast that then now I would have to finally tell them because I'd be like, yeah, I'm still doing these weekly Zoom calls.
They mean nothing now. At least, before we had like other friends that listened to us, and now no one does. We just like talk on Zoom. But okay, yeah, it's hard, but I appreciate them both being honest. I appreciate them both taking ownership, but also kind of explaining them.
Yes.
Like it was nice to be like, you
This is
didn't
how
blame.
adults work through a friendship problem.
Yes, it's like you didn't blame each other, but you explained your feelings.
And you
like,
apologize for where they each
your part.
apologize for where they went wrong.
This was great. So, why did Kyle blame Lindsay? Kyle said, it was just one thing after another, and it started when their relationship was getting serious. Carl says he sees why Kyle said that, right? Like he would go home and vent to Lindsay, but that doesn't mean to put all of this blame on Lindsay.
Yeah,
and
because at the end of the day, it's Carl's decision to do these things.
Carl's a grown fucking
even
man.
if quote unquote Lindsay's in his ear, okay, like that's his life partner.
Yeah, fucking.
She gets to be in his ear.
Yeah,
it's Carl's choice to do whatever he wants with that.
Yes. So Paige does whisper under her breath that Lindsay complained about Carl's salary.
Which that's so awkward. If that's I don't remember that ever happening on the show.
I don't either, but that is so
oh my god.
For Paige to just not even, she just whispers it.
This is why I'm upset with this reunion. Is like I wish Paige would have said that louder and it was like a real discussion. I want Lindsay to be like, no, I didn't. And then for like half the other cast to be like, you did. If that is true.
We want the messiness, but we want to be able to hear and understand everyone. Like Vanderpump is too messy. And Summer House is like not messy enough. Like I need there to be like a nice in between at the reunion. Yes. Not necessarily the season, but like I don't want everyone shouting over each other.
But this is the time for you to like pipe in with the extra comments on each other's. That's what I didn't like about this reunion is it was like one-on-one discussions. There weren't like group discussions about anything. Like I want everyone's opinion on this Carl and Kyle relationship.
Forgot Sam, Corey, Chris, and Gabby fucking existed.
They would just literally give us like a like shot of them just sitting there.
To stay silent for like at least Gabby occasionally piped up, but for the other three to stay silent for like 7 hours filming, this is wild. We did not hear one fucking peep out of them at some point.
No, it was so dumb.
Yeah. So Kyle pops in to kind of defend Lindsay and says like Kyle does the same thing with Amanda and like it's okay to vent to your partner. And Lindsay says that her advice to Carl, so Amanda's advice to Kyle was to talk to Carl about this, but Lindsay's advice was also to talk to Kyle about this and not blindside Kyle.
Which is huge. And she did show that on the show.
Yes, I agree. I think Kyle wrongly put his anger towards Lindsay. Yeah. Because like you don't want to get mad at your best friend. So you get mad at your best friend's partner. It's easier, but it's not right. But then Amanda does push Kyle to apologize to Lindsay, and Kyle does. Huge. Good for Amanda.
Justice for Lindsay for sure in this situation.
Yes.
And I love that Kyle apologized.
Yes. I love how Amanda was like, and you're sorry, Kyle. And I was like, I am sorry.
I bet that goes a long way for even Amanda and Lindsay's friendship. Like Lindsay seeing
Lindsay
Amanda,
said like I appreciate that, Amanda. Thank you. Like she's like, I appreciate it from you. So Kyle went off that one drunk day without Carl present and said Carl came to work coked up. And we asked Carl what it was like hearing that. Carl starts to get a little emotional. He admits he did show up to work coked up and forgot his laptop.
I'm so messy. Like, I want to know the exact date.
Oh my God, I wish this was filmed. I'm so messy.
I'm so messy. I like want more about the details.
I do too. But I actually do too, because it had to be at the beginning of Loverboy. Because Carl started his sobriety journey in the COVID house.
Yes.
Which was like the beginning stages of Loverboy because they ran out of aluminum.
Middle. I would say middle.
Okay.
Because we just recorded season 3 and
you're right.
Kyle had just started formulating it. They didn't have cans of stuff and weren't.
You're right.
like out there really.
Carl
So season
was
4 will
the
be the first season.
third employee, I think.
Yeah.
So actually, you're right. So this had to be somewhere in there. So Carl says he wishes that he had said that and not Kyle, because Carl is ashamed and embarrassed by his past, and it hurt him to have his addiction brought up so publicly. Kyle said he felt horrible and ashamed and embarrassed. And he says for years he did his best to kind of deal with Carl's addiction, but didn't even know how badly Carl was really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Carl starts to get really emotional. He's crying. Kyle says that Carl is his best friend and he can't grasp what Carl's gone through. And so it's really horrible that Kyle said something like that. And Kyle's very sorry. Gets up, hugs a sobbing Carl.
This was so sweet because you
I
can
almost
see
started crying.
how much they care for each other despite a massive issue going down in the season.
Yes.
This
Yes,
is what I want from Lindsay and Danielle.
They're putting their own like pride or like what they believe in aside. Like how Carl says, like, I did this horrible, like I was coked up at work, right? I did a bad thing. I wish I was the one to have owned that, but like I'm embarrassed by my own addiction, and that's like something I deal with. And Kyle's like, Kyle doesn't even have like pride in this situation. He's like, that was so horrible of me to say. Like, I would never understand that. And they just like fucking adults that love each other. I like can't. And then I'm crying because Carl's crying.
It was so sweet and so raw. It just broke my heart.
Yes. And so then Carl apologizes to literally everyone because they've all had to deal with him at his worst.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like appreciative of all them, which is again just like amazing. And then Andy asks how it felt to see Danielle ride for him so hard. And Carl says that was an amazing moment. And he had texted Danielle. So this was after the big fight. He texted Danielle and said that he appreciated that. And Danielle texted him back and said she would do it again in a heartbeat.
Which like tells like,
wow.
I don't
Which shows Danielle still love, like she is throwing out this love to you.
Yes.
And like
she
right
has so much loyalty and care for you as people
that you fucking listen. I will get there, but you don't invite her to her best friend's engagement that you're planning, but like she would still stick up for you. Like
she would throw
like,
herself in front of a bus to save you.
Yeah. I love how Lindsay also though is like, Danielle, I also appreciated that. I was like, you could have told her in the moment or something. Like you knew she fucking did this for
I
you.
know.
I don't know.
It also reminded me where we started at the start of the season of the Lindsay Carl Danielle friendship. And I was like, oh my God, there were not problems coming into the season or problems that we saw coming into the season. Yes. So it kind of also set me up well for the future Lindsay Danielle talk.
Yeah. So everyone's crying. Andy's even crying. And Andy says, you know, he has experience with addicts, and the shame that the addict feels is way more than any anger anyone else feels to try and make Carl feel better. Carl says he has also said horrible shit on this show, so he can't like hold it against anyone else. Yeah. So on season 1, he was drinking, and he was actually drunk in an interview, which I guess he did pretty frequently. And he spoke out about his brother's addiction. And his brother watched the show and was very hurt that Carl had said, like, talked about his addiction so publicly, because it is very shameful. Yeah. So like addicts they can't even admit they have an addiction. So like for you to call them out is like very hard. So Carl, I guess Carl's brother like told Carl he was upset, but Carl was also angry because Carl knew he had issues and he didn't even come to terms with that himself. And he was like on TV glorifying being a party boy. And then that was like the last time him and his brother talked.
Yeah, it seems like it was that is the rift. Him talking about it on TV season 1 caused the rift that continued for years, clearly,
so
because
like season 5 was COVID season, right? Season 4, yeah. Which is it's crazy,
I
right?
think season 5 was the season they filmed during COVID.
So this was like 4 years, let's say, of them like really not speaking. Yeah. And then how horrible that that's like the last conversation. Like that is so sad. Like that breaks my heart.
And I think that like helps propel Carl to not try and hold grudges in this. He doesn't want to like make a mistake and not, he has made a mistake, like been held, like have it held against him for a long time, and then had such a horrific thing happen. And I don't think he ever wants to chance that with someone.
No, he says he's not going to harbor any hate towards Kyle, and they say they will always love each other.
Yeah.
Which was, and Carl kind of went on to about how like Kyle is like a brother to him. Like he won't do that to Kyle. It was so heartbreaking. I was sobbing. Like I was just sobbing my face off.
It gave me all the feels. And this is like, I hate to say enjoy, but I love going on the journey of Carl's sobriety, because I think it's such an interesting one. And we've seen him struggle, like he mentioned, you know, doing interviews drunk season 1. We've really seen him go up and down in his personal life with his parents, his family. Like he has put it all out there.
He has. He's one of the most open people.
To kind of like see his journey and then like have him kind of sum up some of his journey in this reunion has been, I don't know, it just kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah, I think it's been though like a rough journey, a beautiful journey, because Carl has just ended up, I think he is currently in like a good place.
Yeah.
And like he wasn't in season 1. Like we all saw that.
Yeah.
So I'm like really happy he's made it here.
It helps me like root for him even more.
Yes.
Just seeing it all together.
Yes, I love him. Okay, then we take a break. Andy says Paige clocked in. She doesn't speak much, but when she does, it's impactful.
She is like giving those little zingers out.
She signed that contract for next season right there. Corey's here. He likes Sam's dress. Chris warns Corey that like this reunion's a roller coaster. Like sometimes they're yelling, sometimes they're hugging.
Which this cracks me up because it's like their first reunion, so they don't know what to expect. But I'm like,
it's wild.
What? That's the whole kind of the whole show.
Yeah, wild. Carl and Lindsay talk. He says he would love to do this again. You know, have a summer in the Hamptons before getting married, and he wants to move past this shit, which
that kind of shocked me.
It shook me. And listen, I have been openly saying don't bring them back. If we could see more of their journey as a couple and like their struggles, I would fucking appreciate this couple coming back. But if we're gonna have a repeat of this season, please don't come back.
I like struggle with it because it's like when he said that, he just it seemed like he
just wants to have like one last summer with his friends, like a bachelor party.
Nostalgic for what has been.
Because without it, he wouldn't have met Lindsay, right? So like, one last moment.
Like
I get it.
Sweet.
As a viewer, I don't want it.
I don't know.
Go to a different Hamptons house. Okay. Lindsay says she's gonna ignore the immature barking because we're gonna focus on the people that matter. Her, Carl, Kyle, Amanda, and Danielle. Which includes Danielle.
I love that. And I like how she says she's closest to the OGs, and I get that. But the premise of this reunion is to all comment on shit, and she's doing it too.
Is the barking? Let us bark.
Yes,
let us bark.
Don't.
This whole podcast is us barking.
That's true. Sometimes I feel like Lindsay thinks she's above the like drama,
she's
or
been
like
here for so
she's
long,
more mature.
It's like a respect your elders thing. And
I'm like, girly, you're a cast member just like these other people. Like you get to talk and like cross talk the same as other people do.
Yeah. Yeah, you could jump in if you want.
It bothered me because I'm like, this is a freaking reality show.
A reunion.
Come on, you sign up for it.
So Amanda is with like Kyle, Paige, Sierra, and Amanda just wants to know when we can move on from all this shit with Lindsay. And Kyle says, we're trying to forgive and forget, but you gotta get it off. You gotta work on, you have to like get it off your chest to rebuild.
Yeah.
So they have to do this reunion. That's producer Kyle going, we have to do this reunion, you guys.
And he has said it like in many reunions, like you got to like hash it out and be able to move on, because this show does not operate unless everybody's friends. Like,
and I think that's the thing, right? Like sometimes and some people are able to hash it out and move the fuck on, whereas some people cannot move the fuck on from literally anything.
Yeah, and this season we really need to be able to move on. Like I don't want to have these fights come up.
How stupid the argument is.
Yes.
Okay. And then they all sit down. Corey sits down, he chugs a beer because he puts it like right in front of him. And a producer's like, oh my fucking God, you can't do that. This is a reunion, Corey.
This is not like a frat party.
Get your shit together, okay? This isn't Winter
Put
House.
your Corona down.
This is some real shit. This is Summer House, bitch.
Let me just say this. After him showing up and giving his spiel, which we'll get into, I'm confused why he's here.
He literally useless person on the whole reunion.
So confused.
Okay, so now we use Corey for his 5 seconds. We talk about Sam's Summer of Love. So Sam started with a full roster. She couldn't find a guy to keep up with her. Corey was worried about long distance, a similar worry he had with Jess on Winter House. So why Sam and not Jess? And Corey says he actually likes Sam, which like ouch to fucking Jess, bro.
I mean, okay, it's been a year since the Jess stuff really happened, but like, sir. And the clip we got from Winter House of Corey kissing Jess in the bar, I was like, whoa, seeing that compared to him with Sam, like he really did not like Jess.
Nope, not even a little bit. Okay, was it weird saying that Sierra was also interested in Corey? And honestly, all we saw was Sierra saying she would make out with Corey, which I would literally make out with anyone, so this means nothing to me. But
they really like played into this for no reason.
Also, we saw in a trailer the clip of like Lindsay saying that Sierra just texted Corey to hang out 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And they just fucking left that out of this reunion.
There was something else they left out too. Oh, Andy saying like, maybe you shouldn't be friends anymore.
Yes.
I'm confused. I think a lot of stuff was cut out. I mean, obviously a lot of stuff was cut out. They like filmed for like 8 hours and put it down to 2. But I felt like this episode specifically was very choppy.
Also, don't show us something and then be like, we're gonna cut that out.
That was like an interesting thing.
Have you met Bravo fans? Like, we're psychos. We're gonna remember everything.
Yeah, I'm really confused what's going on.
Whatever, fuck it. Whatever. So Corey says him and Sierra have a flirty relationship, so he didn't read into it further, but he's flattered. Sierra said she would have been down to make out, but she's not now. So Sam once described Corey as someone who would stop texting you as soon as you had feelings. When she realized she was wrong about that. And so once filming wrapped, Corey texted Sam and was like, oh, I have all these pictures from the summer. And Sam was like, great, send them over. And he's like, nah, I need an excuse to talk to you every day. So I'm going to send one each day, which was very cute.
This is the cutest thing. Such a good idea.
But then Kyle's like, hopefully this isn't just your move. And other girls are like, he did the same thing to me. That was fucking hilarious.
I don't think so. This takes a lot of effort because she said she's still getting them.
Jess was like, he never sent me the pictures.
He didn't even want to sleep in the same bed as Jess.
He like literally he hated her.
But he like, I mean, when you're stuck in a house for just 2 weeks and like you want to kind of make out with someone, that's the level of effort you put in, the Jess level.
Yeah. Listen, this is very cute, and I'm sad that this was the most boring part of the reunion somehow. And then we never get back to them.
I'm so confused. Like, I loved Corey this season, and I feel like we really could have used him. What was the point of bringing him? That's the point where he was on the OG seating chart.
Yeah, so for the rest of the, just like, oh no, I'm gonna spoil. For the rest of the episode, we do not hear from Chris, Sam, or Corey. Like, not a fuck. No. I did not write their name for
just silence at the end of the bench.
And the only time we get Gabby is when she pipes in a little bit. But honestly,
she gives a few facial reactions.
And we barely talk about Maya too. So like, fucking,
Maya literally was sitting against the couch, just like looking at them in the weirdest position. I was like, well, when there's nothing happening,
positioned weird. Paige was like positioned the opposite way.
Oh God.
It's awesome. Yeah, whatever. So okay, then we talk about Paige and Craig and moving in together and Paige crying. Also, I love how they keep editing. It looks like Craig is mad that Paige is crying, but he did in the episode, he just didn't notice Paige was crying because when he did, he was very like nice about it.
Yeah.
But they keep editing it like she's like, my mom's in New York.
And he's like giving her like a side eye.
Yeah. Fine. Oh, Craig's always the villain, even on the Bravo editing floor. So Paige, she says she didn't know she would burst into tears like that, but she was crying because it's scary growing up, and she's only ever lived in New York, and she's close to her parents, and being a plane ride away from her family was scary and still is, which this is so real. Growing up is like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I was just talking to my therapist about how like it's so hard to take like leaps because you've never done things like this before. And so
Yeah.
like take a massive leap. You're just standing on this edge, fucking terrified. But if you don't take the leap, then you're gonna like lose everything.
Yes.
It's just the worst.
I was literally a 45-minute drive from my parents' house to the city of Chicago, and I had a panic attack before signing my first apartment. That I didn't sign it. I waited another 6 months and then
Oh
signed
my
it.
God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, it's not right. It's not the right time. And my parents were like, okay. Like, imagine that. Like, imagine being like, I'm gonna permanently move and raise a family without
That's
my
the thing is like this leap is a domino effect of all these other even more massive changes.
So Paige sees why crying made Craig insecure in the relationship. So then a fan wrote in a question and asked, why is it the only move for Paige to move to Charleston? Which was my biggest question. Why is that the move?
And
why can't they
it seemed
go
like it was an all or nothing right now too.
Yes. So Paige knows Craig, and Craig wouldn't be happy in New York and wouldn't want to put him through that, which I agree. I think Craig is a giant fucking loser and would never make it in this city.
But I think that's sweet. She knows that.
She knows that. She knows she's dating a fucking loser. But my question is still, why can't they move to like a different state? Like they can meet in the middle somewhere. Like why must it be one or the other? I don't know. But Paige does think about having a family, like raising it in the suburbs. Like she wouldn't want to have a family in New York City, which again, we can still go to the New York. I just don't understand, but fine. They probably.
But I get like why it's not New York City.
Yes, I do too.
Like why no matter what, she will have to pick up and leave this life she loves.
Craig would never make it.
But it's okay that like she's sad about leaving it, but she also probably is happy. It's just a bittersweet moment in life.
Yeah.
You're giving up your freedom.
And she's just not ready.
Yeah.
She has to move then to Charleston and be friends with Catherine.
Well, she won't be because Catherine's not on the show anymore.
That doesn't mean they won't be friends.
Oh, let's be honest.
Catherine's gone.
Yeah.
So last summer we saw Maya and Oliver's meet cute, but this summer something seemed off. So Andy asked, when did feelings change? And Maya said she just knew something was weird, and you just have a woman's intuition.
That answer pisses me off because like then you should have talked about it all season.
Yeah,
like,
hey, I got a message.
Or maybe you don't talk about it in the season, but you talk about it in your interviews.
Just fucking give us anything.
I don't like this like withholding.
And then they even like were withholding shit on the season because Oliver was fucking with 11 other women.
That
11
is so many.
The brothel, as Paige put
that
it.
was funny. I like that little bonding moment of everybody laughing about the brothel comment.
But holy shit, 11? How much time did this man have? Did he also never see
Maya to confirm with me that she has gotten tested and is like, okay.
She should get tested. Also, I want to know, was he just sleeping with these other women once? Was it like a relationship?
Yes.
Was it a constant fuck?
This is where I feel like they edit conversations out and not to the benefit of the show.
Because if she was like, since we dated, he has slept once with 11 other women, I could be like, okay. But if he's having 11 different relationships, where does this man find the time? Does he have a job?
Remember, he like doesn't, if he spends the night, he springs out of bed in the morning immediately or doesn't really spend the night.
To go where? Like, it's just so, this man has so.
Yeah, like, is he banging two women in one night? One of them is his girlfriend, the other.
Yeah. I don't even have time for one person in a relationship. Like,
no, we do have time. We don't want it.
No, I got this podcast. This is I don't have time to date. I'm doing this all the time.
Do we even know if Oliver like has a real job?
Does Oliver have a job is my next question. Fucking, I don't give a shit about this relationship. Okay, so Maya didn't tell anyone, not even Sierra.
Alicia, I'd be pissed if you waited a month to tell me something like this.
Also, does anyone know me? Even at my suspicion, I would be like, he's probably cheating on me with 11 women. I would immediately think that.
I kind of understand why at the end of the season, when you're almost done wrapping, you don't say anything on camera. But off camera, she waited a month to tell Sierra.
Also, I can get, off camera. She's like, I gotta wait a month and a half for you. I get also being like finding out the truth and wanting to hold on to that a little bit, because once you admit it, it's like very real. But couldn't you also be like, hey, I have suspicions to your friends? Listen, you DM me about my boyfriend.
I'm immediately showing it to
I show
everyone.
everyone.
Yes.
Nothing is secret.
And like, how did people not pick up that him and Maya were broken up?
I have no idea. How do you live in a house with like 40 people and don't tell one of them that you got this weird DM? I don't even live in the same state as you. And I would call you and be like, Meredith, guess about the DM guess what DM I just got.
Yes.
So
I literally call you as I'm leaving like boys' places, and I'm like, do we like him?
Yeah, I fucking judge immediately. So Danielle introduced Maya and Oliver. She is no longer friends with Oliver. We cursed the day he was born.
Good. That's the energy we want.
Yeah. And so Maya's dating Sierra now, which I get because they have a podcast together, and I feel like I'm also dating my podcast host.
Thank you. I hope you like that relationship.
It's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, truthfully. And then I guess Chris DM'd Maya to have pancakes. Should it be before, or should I come over before in
the night before or the morning of?
The morning after.
You know what, Chris? I take it back. That was a good game. You're learning.
I would like you come over and make me pancakes, because God knows I'm not gonna make them or leave my apartment. So then we talk about Danielle and Robert's ending relationship. We're gonna jump right into the fucking drama.
This was so awkward, this entry point.
Hey, there's another relationship that broke up.
That was on the fritz. Here we are.
So they broke up in the fall. Danielle felt that their relationship in the summer was fine. She just wanted to spend more time with him. She like loved him and everything was fine, which I understand. You're like, everything's fine, but if I saw you more, things would be better.
That's and especially like, I don't really think that they had issues in the summer. Like, I think it made it worse because she was filming, so she had to be away from him too. So it really showed his like lack of trying to adapt to her schedule too.
Yes, because she has, so far we've learned, when he went to Aspen, she goes to Aspen.
Yeah, like really bent over backwards to make it work.
Yeah, whereas he was like partying in the kitchen instead of hanging out with her, and then like lost his phone, then had to scurry out because he was like 3 hours late to work in a while.
Oh, I'm gonna miss him on the show.
Yeah, he's good for a good laugh.
Yeah.
So Danielle told Robert basically like, I'm unhappy, let's work on this. And Robert said, I'm going to Aspen to not work on this.
I'm so sad about this.
Brutal. Fuck you, Robert. That's
because it's not like she said, this isn't working, I'm done. She was like, let's work through this. And he's like, nah, I'm good.
Oh, brutal. So then Lindsay was Danielle's best friend. Was Lindsay surprised? Lindsay said yes or no, or yes and no, because she thought that they would always work it out, but it's hard dating a chef. Then Andy asked, was Danielle projecting her relationship issues onto onto Lindsay and Carl? Oh my God, I don't know what it is about Summer House. These names all just like blend together.
They're very similar.
I just can't. So Danielle says, no, she would never do that in a friendship, and her relationship has nothing to do with her best friend having a good relationship. But Lindsay says she spent a lot of time in the summer and fall trying to figure out the root of the issues, and projection was part of it. Lindsay thinks Danielle was scared that Danielle was going to lose Lindsay, which I think is a valid like thought.
Yes.
Like, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to project, but you're going to like hold on a little tighter, right? Like, am I crazy?
I think of like friendships very similar to dating relationships. Sometimes when you get a little insecure about where your friendship's at, you spin out a little. Like, you try and hold on even tighter.
I'm spinning.
It's like, so Danielle was anxious about the friendship, and Lindsay was avoidant about the friendship. Mm-hmm. So like Danielle's trying to hold on even tighter, and like it's like freaking out over there, and Lindsay's like
dodging.
I can't with this.
Yeah. So Kyle says that it has nothing to do with Robert. And in Lindsay and Carl's confessionals, they both said like something along the lines of Danielle was jealous of their relationship. because her relationship with Robert sucked. And Kyle said he didn't see any red flags with Robert and Danielle, and he was curious, so he called Robert, which you can tell Danielle did not know anything about this. Let me tell you right here, right now. If someone breaks up with me, I don't care if you're calling them to like ask for a loan, watch your dog. I don't fucking care. Don't call him. And definitely don't talk about me.
Here's the one pass is Kyle said he was already talking to him because of business. So I think they were like Kyle recently
don't talk about
launched
me.
Loverboy in the restaurant
that
Robert works at. And so I don't know this, but I think Kyle just capitalized on that conversation that was already going to happen for business.
Fine. Don't bring me up. Don't
or like tell me. You can't just surprise me with
at
this.
A reunion. We're being filmed. I want to die. Okay, so Kyle asked how Robert and Danielle were in the summer, and Robert said they were fine. They went through bumps like a couple usually has, but whatever was happening with the three amigos had nothing to do with Robert.
Which I agree with.
Yeah, Kyle just wants like Lindsay and Carl to know that.
Or I don't think it's the main motivating factor of the issue.
Yes. So Carl also then admits that he met up with Robert.
That is really bad. This is really bad.
I screamed.
And Danielle's like, excuse me? Again, doesn't know about this.
This was way worse. This was like, because Carl and Danielle were friends. Like Carl and Robert became friends because of Danielle. So like, bro, it sucked. And I guess Robert said the same thing. So Robert reached out and felt really bad about the summer. Carl still cares about Robert and is sad to hear it didn't work out. So he didn't reach out technically to Robert. Robert reached out. They were like, hey, we should grab drinks. Which, I'd be so mad if I was Danielle.
Especially because then we find out that Carl and Lindsay did not even reach out to Danielle when they broke up.
Yeah, let's get into what they said. So
I'm sorry, you're gonna talk to my ex, but you don't talk to me.
That's exactly what Danielle says. She's basically like, have fun with my ex then. And then Lindsay's like, I also did not reach out. And Lindsay says she wasn't sure if it was confirmed or not. And then Danielle like went to Aspen, so she figured they might work it out. She just wasn't sure.
Then you asked.
We're just blaming Danielle.
And then Lindsay goes, well, you could have reached out to me and told me you need me.
Oh my God, I screamed.
I was so upset at this.
Hey, Danielle, I know I just told you to fuck off as a friend. And like, maybe I should have reached out to you when you were going through a horrible life change. But also, you should have probably just told me that you needed me and just admitted that and then apologized. And then I would have said, I'll think about it.
The work of this relationship being put on Danielle is so frustrating.
That's the thing is like, with Danielle, she's basically saying this is where I was hurt and this is where I take responsibility. Where Lindsay is saying you hurt me and you need to take responsibility for all these things.
Yes. And if you need me, you need to tell me. You need to like call for me.
Yeah, like why would Lindsay know that her best friend got broken up with? Why would she have to assume that her best friend might need her?
You do the work. Like it bothers me so much because there are moments where I'm like, yes, Lindsay, I totally understand like your hurt, your anger, and I understand your pain. But like when she says things like in this exact conversation that like, oh, well, she didn't know much about Danielle and Robert's breakup. And like,
it's not my fault.
And Danielle really needed her, she would have like reached out. It's like, no, you realize your friend is in pain and you put your bullshit aside for 5 seconds and you reach out and say, hey, I saw this. Are you okay?
Yeah. Is this true? You could have easily just asked like, is this true?
Yeah. This made me really, really sad. And it kind of proved Danielle's point this summer.
What about when Carl met up with Robert? Why didn't Lindsay then be like, now I know it's true. I can reach out. Then, oh my God, when I tell you I scream, we find out that
because they knew it was true because it had been confirmed finally.
Jesus Christ, just fucking reach out then 7 months later and be like, I've been thinking about you a lot. I'm sorry that this happened to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just reach out whenever. So then we find out that every other person on this cast couch reached out to Danielle about her breakup, except Lindsay and Carl, which makes them look like horrible friends.
I mean,
Ah.
in that moment, yeah, I think they were being bad friends.
Then Carl does the beginning.
Even bad co-workers, basically.
Yeah,
like
fuck
at
yeah.
minimum, you guys have a working relationship. This is a massive life change that will also change the show.
Yes, this was wild. Then Carl, he does this thing that him and Lindsay then do the rest of the episode, and we know that Meredith and I have talked about this before. Carl says he's sorry, but it was a difficult spot to be in. And now Carl and Lindsay will forever say but after every apology they give.
I feel like all they want is to center their hurt, and they are unwilling to see Danielle's stuff in it.
Yes.
Like,
which is why it's wild when Lindsay's like, how come no one can see my side? And it's like, no, we see your side. We understand.
Yeah.
But like, because we're taking ownership for what we did to hurt you.
Yes. This really lit me up for a long time.
So Danielle's just upset that Lindsay thinks Danielle needs this friendship only when she's going through something, and realizes that their friendship was incredibly one-sided. So now it's time to officially get into the drama of the Tres Amigos.
Finally.
So when did they start to see change? It was when Danielle said that she thought Lindsay and Carl were going too fast to Paige.
Which, again, I want to push this. Why is this a problem?
To Paige is the problem.
After
they just can't admit that that's the problem.
I think it's a loyalty thing. Lindsay, for every season, has always talked about how loyalty is so important to her. And I think this being said to Paige and Paige coming to Lindsay, it like immediately she was like, I'm done.
Even though it like wasn't a bad fucking thing she said.
I think it made Lindsay turn against Danielle and not see the best or hear her out, and immediately always think of everything as negative.
Yes, which I'm a very loyal person. I get where Lindsay would be coming, but it's different if my friend tells someone like, I think Alicia and her boyfriend suck and I hope they break up, versus like they might be moving too fast.
But even like not enough to completely turn against that friend and not be able to sit down and have a clear conversation.
That's the thing, is Lindsay was done the minute she heard.
Yeah, like she got so defensive.
Was not the problem. She refuses to fucking grow up. Yeah. So
she put a wall up. That's what it is.
Immediately. So to Danielle, they wanted to expedite being together, which is great. But as a friend, you kind of want to bring it back to reality, right? Like they're going through job situations. Lindsay just froze her eggs. They're going to work on being a family. They just moved in together. They're buying a car. They're also working on like Carl's sobriety. Like, it's great you're in this honeymoon phase, but like, let's bring it back. Are you maybe moving too fast? So Andy says it seems like all the concerns were concerns a best friend would fucking have. And Lindsay goes, yes. Here's my thing, Lindsay, you're not upset about the concern. Just say you're pissed that Danielle told Paige.
I need her to just be honest.
Leave it like that.
Because without it, it's like I can't sit here and defend Lindsay. I've made up the story on the side where it makes more sense to me, but
I can see where Lindsay's upset, right? But if she's not going to own why she is upset, then like,
and just deflect everything back to Danielle being the problem, it really bothers me.
So Andy's like, why not just focus on the concerns? And Lindsay says, well, the concerns are clear now, but they weren't over the summer. Which in that I'd be like, so are we forgiven? Are we done?
But also then why but why didn't we ask for them?
Yeah. And then Danielle says all Lindsay heard was Danielle being critical about a relationship. And then Lindsay immediately discarded this friendship from the jump. So we asked Danielle, what was the real problem? Was it Danielle's concerns? Or no, sorry, Danielle asks, like, what was the real problem? Was it the concerns I had, or was it me telling Paige and Paige telling you? And then Danielle also calls Paige out for being a messy bitch.
Which
and if she ever does that again, Danielle's gonna fucking kill her. And Paige laughs. Paige is like, yeah, I'm a messy bitch.
Like, that's accountability.
Which, do I believe that the minute, like, so Danielle told Paige, and Paige was like, I'm gonna tell Lindsay. I bet, sure, fucking probably, because Paige is a messy bitch. Okay, so Lindsay says it was because she heard it from everyone else except Danielle. But Danielle said, no, I think it was these girls specifically. Because if she had told Sam or Gabby, Lindsay wouldn't have had the same reaction.
I think she would have been annoyed, but not completely put up a wall.
Lindsay's like, no, I would have been just as upset.
No, like, come on, you're lying to yourself and to us, and like, come on, let's be honest here.
Danielle did sit down with Lindsay at some point and say, like, these are my concerns. Yes. And Lindsay was still like, how dare you have concerns?
Yes.
Lindsay was done with this friendship. The minute Paige talked to her, Lindsay was like, and that girl's not my friend. Just own it. Just be like, that was it. That was the breaking point.
I think, but then it would like snowball into, then Lindsay needs to own that her loyalty to her means being on her side and not being friends with her enemies.
Yes. But Lindsay would never say that because she
doesn't have hate in her bones.
Yes, you do, Lindsay. Oh, it was so good. So Andy's basically just like, isn't it a fair assessment that like Lindsay's upset Danielle was talking about her? And Danielle's like, yeah, totally. But Lindsay always said, and this is where the whole house kind of chimes in. They're like, Lindsay always says, we're all friends. And like Danielle says she was trying to have a relationship with everyone. And her responsibility isn't to have the same enemies as Lindsay.
And also like what Danielle said to Paige, we got the clip of it. It's not that bad. It's just her, like it's Paige asking, oh, what's going on with them? And Danielle saying her opinion of, I think they're moving a little too fast.
Yeah, Paige asks, like, what do you think? What's Danielle supposed to say? Let me tell Lindsay what I think first, and then I'll let you know.
Pause. Let me go tell Lindsay to her face first, and then I'll come back and tell you.
And don't worry, I want to have a friendship with you. This isn't me like trying, like Paige would have been like, fuck Danielle then.
Yes. And like, it's not like Danielle went into all these explicit details about their fights and like all this messiness about why they shouldn't. All she said was the blanket high level statement of, I think they're moving too fast.
And it's all shit that these people in the summer house have dealt with that Carl apologized for. They've all seen Carl work on his sobriety.
Yes.
Right? We've all seen Lindsay and Carl just start dating. All Danielle said was they might be moving too fast. Kyle had these same concerns.
And did not get like,
he just brought it to Carl. Like that was the only
broken up with.
Yeah.
But like we said, Danielle did. It did happen.
I know. So anyway, Paige says that Danielle was never allowed to be friends with them. And then she did. And that's the problem that Lindsay's having. So Andy asked Lindsay, was Lindsay offended that Danielle said she was worried about them moving too fast? And why? Why can't that be a concern? And Lindsay says, because Danielle moved with Robert too fast. She only moved in 2 months after knowing him. And that's really hypocritical. And also, Lindsay's known Carl for 7 years. And Danielle's like, I've been there for those 7 years, basically. I know.
Robert's not an alcoholic or a drug addict. And like, they're not potentially like getting engaged or like don't have their jobs figured out. Like,
and here's the other thing, right? If Carl and Lindsay were to, God forbid, break up, you're going to lose a friendship, a relationship, a group of friends, probably your jobs. Like there's going to be a lot of fallout. So it's kind of like, let's think about this. If Robert and Danielle break up, like they even broke up after years and there's really no fucking big deal to like to the scale that would be Lindsay and Carl, I think.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay also Lindsay's like, so what are the concerns? What do you think's going to happen? You tell me I'm moving too fast and I just move out. And Danielle's like, I didn't want you to move out. I just wanted to have a fucking conversation.
The attitude that Lindsay is bringing to this conversation right now is really eating me up. Like,
also, why can't you just have a conversation? I don't expect you to move out. Like if I was like, Meredith, I don't think you're like happy living in your apartment. I don't expect you to fucking flee that apartment immediately. I would expect you to be like, and why do you think that? And I would give my reasons. And you'd be like, well, I'm very happy.
Here's why I am happy. And we could like discuss and you'd be like, okay, I see your point of view now. Like, I understand why you're staying there.
She didn't even say like, I think you're not happy with Carl. It's just like, I think you're moving fast. okay, why do you think that?
In that context, it was, I think you're moving too fast and not considering all the things you guys have to deal with.
Yeah, this is wild. So Gabby steps in. This is one of the only times we hear from Gabby. She says the issue is Lindsay heard it from someone else besides Danielle, which, like, thank you, Gabby, for like calling the issue.
Which, like, everybody has said. And Lindsay goes, I mean, I can only say it so many ways. And I'm like, we all agree, Lindsay, you just won't say it that was it. Like,
yeah, you won't just say that was the only issue. Really,
you're right.
Honestly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a fan then asked if Lindsay was just upset that Danielle wasn't being a supportive best friend anymore and talking to quote unquote the ops, and then says it feels like Lindsay was upset that Danielle had main character energy and Lindsay lost her little soldier.
I cackled at this.
I am Paige. I'm cracking up at A, the ops, hilarious.
I can't.
Hilarious. And B, just reading Lindsay. Just like the read that this fan, and the fact that Andy read this, since most of like the response I see is very pro Lindsay.
Yeah.
I did not think Lindsay would get any fucking questions. And this was a good one. So Lindsay says it wasn't a role, it was a long best friendship. Great.
I'm like, so, okay, so where are you now in this long friendship?
So then Andy asked Carl if he understands why Danielle was upset to be left out of the engagement, because he told all these people that were flying in. He told Kyle and Chris, and then we find out fucking Corey knew, and Andrea and Lexi.
I got so much more pissed finding out that Corey knew.
Corey, right? That's the one that lit my ass up. I was like, I was off
because you can explain away like Chris to me. There was a scene, and so like maybe Chris just happened to be standing there.
And Lexi had to come to the Hamptons. Fine.
They were part of the traveling crew.
Corey?
Okay, but who the fuck is Corey? You guys spent 2 days with him in Vermont.
Corey? So Corey probably told Craig, and Craig knew before Danielle? Wild.
It is just insane to me the way that they're like, the way they talk through this next scene.
Okay, I like that Andy is kind of like, I see why Danielle's pissed. Can you guys see it?
Again, which, let's pause really quick. We understand Danielle's feelings. We agree with Lindsay that Danielle did kind of ruin the party.
I agree that Danielle's reaction to the engagement was horrible. Yes. I agree that her actions at the engagement party were horrible. However, she knows that they were horrible.
But they can't just deflect and say, well, you ruined the engagement party. And it's like, well, can we talk about the thing that started that?
Yeah, there's like other issues. We'll get into it. It's basically like, they're like, hey, do you see where you can take part? And they're like, we don't have to, because she did this one thing. So that exempts us from ever having to take ownership. It doesn't exempt you
because your thing came first.
You're the chicken or the egg, baby. Yeah.
Yes, and it's very clear. The not telling Danielle came first before her reaction.
So Carl says he understands, but it wasn't his intention to hurt Danielle. And this was for him and Lindsay. And Andy's like, okay, great. But this was like a clear decision you made.
And if it was for you and Lindsay, then you wouldn't have had a party with all your family and friends. If it was just for you and Lindsay, you wouldn't celebrate with all your family and friends. Yes. Like a relationship, a marriage, it takes I feel like a village of support to champion a relationship. So this isn't just you and Lindsay.
And the other 100 people you called. Just not Danielle.
Yeah.
Which Andy makes very clear. Like you made an like it was on purpose to not tell Danielle. Like it's very clear that you thought.
And I really need them to just own it and be like, listen, we weren't in a good place. So I wasn't making you a priority in this massive moment.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So Carl reiterates that he told all these people about the engagement, and Lindsay goes, yeah, that's a lot of people. And the whole cast is like, that's what we're fucking saying, is that you told a lot of people.
So what's one more?
Yeah. So then Andy's like, yeah, a lot of people knew, but not Danielle. And Carl's like, I couldn't trust any of the girls in the house. And Andy goes, holy shit. So you're going to tell me Danielle's just any other girl in this house? Like Andy was upset at this point.
Yes.
He even goes, she's the Tres Amigos.
Yes.
What the fuck?
This is the crux of it.
And then Lindsay's like, well, when Carl told Danielle that he was going ring shopping. She screamed in a pillow. And Carl's like, yeah, why didn't you offer to help with like the ring shopping
again
or the engagement?
The responsibility putting on Danielle to do the outbound work of this friendship and just guess what is going on. I cannot.
If my friend goes, I'm ring shopping, I'm not going to think like, when's the engagement party that I can help with? I'm going to be like, great.
We've got 6 months is what I would think.
That's it. Like, why is it me to be like, hey, checking in again? When's the engagement party? Can I help? Like, just fucking tell me. I can't.
This angered me so much. I get Carl like pumping the brakes after she screamed of like talking about the engagement, but using it as it was on Danielle to actually ask about it so she could be a part of it.
Insane.
Is so insane. Because did you tell everybody else you were ring shopping, and did they follow up with you about when this engagement party was going to be?
You still told them about the engagement.
It's so insane.
Even Gabby is like, hold up, like that's a big jump for you to like put this on Danielle. So Andy's like, yeah, Danielle like did scream in a pillow, and Danielle's like, yeah, I was just trying to get through to Carl. Like, Danielle explained she didn't have disdain for shopping for the ring, but she was upset how like they got to this point, because that was a moment where she was like, hey, I feel like you guys are starting to pull away. What's up? And he's like, we're ring shopping. And she's like, like how I'm screaming in this mic right now. It's just out of like pure anger or like frustration.
Like just shock.
So Danielle says she has always wanted the best for them, and then says in her heart of hearts, do they honestly think that Danielle doesn't want them to be happy? And Carl says, looking back, it does look bad and he feels terrible. And Lindsay goes, oh, please include Danielle in the next proposal.
I was so angry at I just felt like there was no reason to bring all this sarcasm to this conversation.
It's unnecessary because there's someone that's actually really hurt in this situation.
Yeah. And like, listen, again, feelings are valid, but the way Danielle went about him in the engagement party, not valid. Wrong. The way Lindsay is handling this and that final, like that finale conversation, not cool. And if you're like willing to defend that, I'm not on your team. Like, I will defend Lindsay's like emotions, and like I understand she put a wall up, but that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
This is not how you treat people.
I think that's it, is like you're just treating her badly for the sake of treating her badly. So Carl says he was planning a proposal and didn't feel comfortable telling the girls in the house, and Danielle was looped into that, and that's fucked up, and he thought that that's what was best for his engagement. Carl says he's sorry, but plenty of people get engaged and their best friend doesn't know, and they're always happy for them. And
that's not true, by the way. They're not always happy for them. They're probably hurt, and they probably shove it down and like put it on a good face, but that doesn't mean that they're happy, or they are happy for them, but that doesn't mean that they don't feel the same things Danielle did.
My friends are lit on fire if this happens. No,
I'd be really upset.
I'd be sad. I think I would be sad because, like, to me, especially if you told everyone else. If you told no one, fucking fine. If I'm the only one of like this friend group that doesn't know, that fucking
it tells me my place in your life. To me, even if it's not how you meant it, I would take it as it shows me exactly where you value me in your like life.
Yes. Kyle does say the difference is they're not usually living in the same house, which is true.
Like, which I think that did exasperate it, but yeah. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, think Lindsay and Carl talked about a proposal. Lindsay and Danielle were having issues that summer. Lindsay told Carl, I don't want her involved. And Carl won't say anything about how this happened because then he would have to out Lindsay.
I agree. So Carl understands, but Danielle just needs to be happy for the engagement. And Danielle
she is. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. So Danielle's like, do you not think I could keep a secret? Am I 5 years old? And Lindsay says, you acted like it this summer. And then Carl goes off about he was in the hospital 2 days before, and he had a lot in his brain.
That's good because you told people like weeks ago, so they could book their flights. So you being in the hospital means nothing.
This is his proposal, and he did what was best. And guess what? Not everyone's included in a proposal. That's my other thing. It's like, hey, we told everyone, but like in other situations, like not everyone's included. So this is like not, it's like, no, let's talk about
They're
this
deflecting
situation.
on like why there are quote unquote valid reasons they didn't tell her, but none of them have to do with it.
Honestly, Carl could just say, look, you and Lindsay were having issues I didn't feel comfortable telling.
Yes.
Blank. But he's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I think you're a bitch, basically.
He's like making it Danielle's fault for like not, but they won't actually say it. Like she's untrustworthy. And then like using the situation around it.
They're like really pulling out their ass here. So Danielle says,
this is what Paige calls spin.
Yeah, spin. Yeah. So Danielle says you basically don't give a shit about me, which is true. Like you didn't care enough to tell me. And then Carl stands up and basically says, I didn't really think about you at all. And I was like, there it is.
There it is.
You basically said it. And Carl says he's now standing up, like yelling. He feels bad, but he did it for Carl and Lindsay. Listen, any man stands while I'm sitting to yell at me, I'm gonna be like, I'm not listening. Sit your ass down. Everything you say doesn't count up here.
It makes it like it to me, it shows his guilt, because if you're gonna be angry and yell and have to physically stand up, it's because you have no talking points to stand on. You're flipping out because you have nothing to stand on in this argument.
And we cut to Gabby's face at one point, and she was even like, the fuck is this man doing? Sit your ass down. This was
embarrassing.
Sit your ass down. So Andy is like, how about this? Besides Danielle acting up at the engagement party, do you as a couple understand after years of friendship why she was upset?
Yes, I love this question. Take out the engagement party, please.
Take out all your reasons why you're upset. Do you understand why she's upset? And Lindsay goes, no.
I was so
Later,
confused.
she does agree that she would be upset in Danielle's position. So fuck this.
I think Lindsay has a wallop. She's unwilling to like bend the knee.
No, unwilling.
And say she was wrong. So she's just gonna constantly say she doesn't see like Danielle's point. She like there's just
Did you ever see Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh.
But go for the point. I'm in.
This is like a far jump, but when you said bend the knee, it reminded me of it. One of the main girls, Khaleesi, I'm about to spoil Game of Thrones. She starts out as like a hero and ends up a fucking villain because she burns down a town full of people. Mm-hmm. But basically she was unwilling to ever, that's how they wrote their character, right? At first she started as a martyr because she went up against all these big players for the little guy. Then she became the big guy, and I've like refused to work with anyone to the point that she killed a bunch of innocent people just to not be wrong.
Oh my God.
So it's like wild. Like that's where this kind of led me in a second.
Yeah, like she's unwilling to say where Lindsay's unwilling to say where she like fucked up a little and caused like an issue in their relationship because all she wants to do is point out how Danielle's the problem.
Yes. So Andy asked Danielle if there's anything she would have changed about the engagement party. And Danielle says a lot. She would have changed her outfit, how much.
Which her saying her outfit first, I think she was trying to cut the tension.
I think she was too. I think it like
laughed a little.
Everyone else laughed except Lindsay and Carl. So she says her outfit, she drank too much, the amount of people she talked to, which as she kept going, I was like, okay, she regrets being that drunk and like ruining the party a little bit. And Danielle says maybe she would have only talked to one person, but like honestly that's a real reaction. She wasn't being malicious, she was just so hurt. And I get this because drunk me would have also turned to someone and been like, can you believe they didn't tell me?
Well, I think when did you find out? It was the outbound question of figuring out, was she the only one not just in the house left out, or is she the only one truly like in the real friend group of Lindsay left out?
And Danielle says she would have loved to be the person to help organize it or honestly be involved in any way. So Andy's like, did you think that what you said would get back to Lindsay? And Danielle said no, because she thought she was in the fucking bushes.
Come on, I get it when you're that drunk or that emotionally like
that's what
overloaded.
She said she was the alcohol. And I was
I totally understand how you like forget after being on a show for so long for a minute, but
it was one of those they'll never hear us because we can't be seen, which is we got a lot of bad angles, but like Danielle was
that's true. Yeah, there's no like camera directly in our face, like let her know this is going on.
So, Danielle says she would never want Lindsay to think Danielle was making the engagement party about herself. And Lindsay says, but that's what happened. And Danielle's like, okay, I'm really sorry that that's how you feel, because like I want you to have the happiest engagement and I support you and I love you and your relationship. And Andy asked Lindsay if she can accept that apology.
Well, first Lindsay says, that's not just how I feel, that is what happened.
Yeah.
And I do hate when people say, well, I'm sorry, that's how you feel. Like, that's another bad apology.
Yes. But she does, I think, again, Danielle refuses to say like that she did something because it was a reaction to Carl's action, which listen, Danielle's giving a lot more than Lindsay and Carl at this
100%.
point. But I think she should have said like,
this is a moment where she should have shown by
my
her
reaction
actions.
was
well, Danielle should have shown that like I'm willing to apologize where I really fucked up, and she does here in a minute.
Yeah. So Andy asked Lindsay if she can accept the apology, and both Lindsay and Carl say yes. And then Andy's like, Lindsay, can you see how Danielle's feelings were hurt? And Lindsay's like, yeah, I would be upset if I was included in a monumental moment for any of my friends.
Which, yeah, then bitch, that's normal.
She keeps trying to talk, and Andy goes, period.
I cackled. He's like, the more you explain it away, the worse it's getting.
Andy is treating Lindsay and Carl like his two fucking kids, Ben and Lucy.
Yes.
He's like, and we're done talking there.
That is where it ends. That's the only point you need to get across. Anything else? Nope, not needed.
So Andy says, watching back the final conversation, do they regret anything they said? Danielle says no.
I was kind of shocked though.
No, Danielle put her feelings out there.
Yeah.
She said, I love you, I care about you, and you're hurting me. You're cutting off this friendship.
I know. I just thought she would find something to be like, yeah, I wish I wouldn't have responded with, I never wanted to go to the wedding, or of course I won't attend that wedding, or like, I don't know. I just
maybe, but I think, right, this is one of those moments where Danielle wore her whole heart on her sleeve.
Yeah, the way they had that fight was so different. Like, you're right. Like, Danielle was just putting all of her feelings on the table, and Lindsay
was like, I love you,
stonewalling her.
Yeah, whereas Lindsay was like, I don't care about you that much. Yeah. So then Lindsay also says no, and everyone's jaw fucking drops. And Danielle's like, you don't regret anything you said. And Lindsay's like, no, because that's how I felt at the moment.
I thought she was going to at least own the like, oh, I shouldn't have said like, you're not invited to the wedding. Because now she's impressed, saying she like wants to mend it so Danielle could come to the wedding.
That's the other thing, is like, you talk this big game about wanting to mend it, but you can't just like give something to try and mend that.
Yeah, like I'm not asking her to apologize and grovel and say she's the worst person ever, but like, you can't say you regret one thing in that whole conversation.
Well, Danielle's most upset because Lindsay said, we have never been friends.
I don't even remember catching that in the finale, but that is like so horrible that I would cry myself to sleep for days if I heard that from
my best friend said that to me. That's worse than a breakup.
Yeah.
That's like,
I would literally need to go to like every other day therapy.
Yeah. I'm living with my therapist at that point.
Yeah,
and my mother in one apartment.
That would crush my soul.
Same. So Kyle says that conversation, Lindsay was the coldest and emotionless person he's ever seen. Mm-hmm. And Lindsay says it's not that cut and dry. And Kyle goes, it looked pretty bone dry. And then Kyle says Lindsay was talking all this shit. Or Lindsay was talking about all this shit talking that Danielle did, but Danielle just said they were rushing things, which is true. I'd want to be like, Lindsay, what other shit are you talking about?
Yes, she keeps like making vague sentences about the stuff Danielle was doing.
What's the
just
shit?
Like Paige last episode. Give me the details. You can't just say this.
You can't just say something. So Lindsay says, how can we bridge the gap if you're not willing to see my point? And I screamed. I was like,
tell me the point then. Tell me the point.
Not be fucking serious right now. Lindsay said she had had enough at that conversation. And Kyle was like, yeah, but what did Danielle do that was so bad? And Lindsay's like, did you see our engagement? And then Kyle and Amanda both say it's because she was hurt. Like, it was just a reaction to something. It wasn't an action. She didn't do something to hurt you. Like, right? They're just trying to fucking be like, Lindsay, can you see where Danielle's upset?
Yeah.
And Lindsay's like, that's great. But at the final conversation, I was hurt about all those things I heard Danielle said about me and Carl. And again, they're like, what fucking thing?
And like, she just apologized for those things. So like,
yeah.
How are we
You
supposed to move
accepted
on
the
here?
whole apology. So Lindsay says when she's hurt, she shuts down, which she should just say. The minute I'm hurt, I'm done.
Which, like, I understand that she does that, but that's where then you say, I regret that I shut down. I wish I had different coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Or listen, I know you're in therapy, or I hope you still are in therapy. Be like, I shut down. That's something I need to work on in therapy. That's something I need to talk about.
And then when you come to, because listen, I do really bad shit, like when I'm like at my emotional capacity, like I can't like sit on some high horse. But when I come down, I then like have this moment of regret, and I like a lot of times will outbound communicate to people and be like, hey, I'm sorry for how I handled that. I'm not sorry for like everything, but I'm sorry for how I handled
or like
it.
how I feel. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry I handled that wrong.
I handled it poorly.
Yeah. So Kyle's like, the point Danielle is making is you, Lindsay, discarded the relationship. And Lindsay's like, yeah, at that point I did. And everyone's like, okay, we're getting somewhere. So Kyle tells Lindsay he wishes she had regrets because that conversation was hard to watch. And it was very hard to watch. And Lindsay says Danielle didn't have regrets about making the engagement about her. And Andy is like losing his mind at this point. He gets involved and he's like, Lindsay, oh my God, Danielle apologized for that and said her feelings were hurt. And that you said you understood that.
I just feel like we're backtracking, and all they are willing to do is stick their little flag in the she said horrible things at the engagement party, which is one moment, by the way. I know it's a huge moment in their lives, but that is one moment they are writing their entire anger on. So what about the whole fucking summer?
Somehow that negates Danielle sticking up for Carl to Kyle about the coked up at work thing. That negates Danielle trying to stick up for Lindsay when Kyle's calling her a psycho, right? Like that negates everything else. She had one bad reaction, and 7 years of friendship are fucking done. We're done.
Yeah.
Like, it's cold. Just admit you're being cold. Like, Jesus, hell, no one has ever described Lindsay Hubbard as warm.
No.
Literally no one.
She is cold-blooded, and it is helpful at times. Fine. Yeah, but this is a time where it's not, and just own it.
Just do it. So Lindsay says, no, Danielle apologized for talking too many people. Oh, and Sierra's like, maybe you didn't hear her because you weren't trying to hear her. And Lindsay's like, maybe I didn't hear her because I'm hurt. And Sierra's like, okay, Danielle was begging you. And like kind of kicks off about how like that's Lindsay's best friend. And that is so sad that Lindsay like cannot fucking understand her own best friend.
Let's remember that they set intentions at the beginning of this reunion, and Lindsay said that she wanted to be able to hear each other because they didn't do that this summer.
Yeah, so now everyone's like,
this is the moment.
Hear her.
This is the moment to hear her.
Lindsay basically looks at Sierra and is like, oh, like you care. And Sierra's right. You know what? You're right. I don't give a fuck about you, but I care about Danielle. And I was like,
that
rock out, bitch.
That's a great response, because guess what? I give a fuck about Danielle and you clearly don't.
I do too at this point. Like, this girl literally is just trying to be like, can you understand where I'm coming from? And Lindsay's like, no.
Lindsay lets her, like, she's quick to anger. And she lets that cloud, like, seeing the whole picture. Because if Gabby were to step in, she'd have no problem. But the fact that it's Sierra.
That's the thing.
Let's remember, like, Lindsay said last episode, they didn't have any issues. Like, she thought that they were friends again. Well, clearly you're not friends with her.
Sierra's friends with Paige. It's always Paige. Yeah, it's just, and like the fact that Andy is like having to get involved so hard.
Yeah, and like so hard to give Danielle's points.
This is, and I know she's a beloved housewife, this is Teresa Giudice on Jersey level. Like,
yes. Yes, because like
I was thinking
the same thing when it was going down.
I love Teresa, right? But she fucking angers me at reunions because it's like, Teresa, why did you say this thing? And she'll be like, I didn't say that. And then they roll a clip of her saying it, and she's like, they probably angered me to say that. Or
she'll be like, Melissa brought sprinkle cookies. And we're like, we've already dealt with that fight.
Melissa brought sprinkle cookies 8 years ago, so I called her a fucking bitch. And
yeah, so I said she was cheating on my brother.
Yeah, I almost lit her house on fire yesterday
isn't...
because of sprinkle cookies 19 years ago.
Doesn't take away from your own actions.
Just Jesus, hell.
Yeah.
So Andy asked Lindsay if he thinks Danielle, or if she thinks Danielle has bad intentions for her and Carl. Lindsay says no. And I'm like, okay. And Andy asked Lindsay if she thinks Danielle doesn't support the relationship. And Lindsay says she doesn't know how to answer that question. And everyone's like, oh my God, we just fucking went through this whole thing with you. You still don't think she fucking cares about your relationship? And Carl's like, I do think he finally speaks. He's like, I do think Danielle supports us.
He's like, after everything today, I think she does. And I'm like, that's huge. Like, today should be changing your opinion.
And Lindsay's like, nah, I'm still trying to figure it out. And Gabby's like, I think Lindsay is struggling between like like Carl and Lindsay versus Danielle, and then like Lindsay versus Danielle, which is fine. But like, just because she is fighting with
shows you why it's such a problem to make your relationship your entire identity.
Yes, because then that's the only thing you care about.
And you can't separate your one-to-one friendships. Like if your friend makes a comment concerned about you, or to you concerned about your relationship, you take it as the most personal attack.
Yeah, because instead of attacking just you've basically clumped into one person in your relationship.
So no, instead of like everything. It should come off as Danielle being protective of Lindsay, but instead it's coming off as Danielle attacking Lindsay
because she's
herself,
attacking like Carl, quote unquote attacking. Yeah. So Andy's basically like, so the issues like that Danielle thought or like the issues with this whole fucking cast basically led to miscommunication and talking to other people, which turned into a game of telephone, which then like people Lindsay didn't like were involved, which made it mean more conspiratorial. I called the God, Jesus. Conspiratorial than Danielle meant. And Andy says, Danielle is saying she wasn't trying to go behind Lindsay's back or go to Lindsay's enemy. She just had concerns about the relationship. And then Andy says, this does not seem as dire and crazy as it's being depicted.
No. This made me so angry hearing it like this.
It is literally just Danielle was asked a question. Danielle answered without saying anything rude. That person that Lindsay doesn't like told Lindsay, and Lindsay fucking lit the world on fire.
And then because Lindsay was upset in the biggest moment of her life, she excluded her best friend, and her best friend spiraled out of control. And then it gave Lindsay even more proof to be like, see, you're a problem. I don't want you in my life.
Fucking can't be friends, because I don't know if I could be friends. Like right then my friend is engaged. We like mend our relationship. And she the whole time is just gonna be like, remember when you ruined my engagement party? I'm gonna be like, remember when your fiance
I think Lindsay would use that in an argument for the rest of life.
Yeah, they're never gonna be friends.
And the thing is, again, like the loyalty thing for Lindsay that I don't think she really identifies yet. Like Danielle can't be friends with the what did that writer
the
ops, like Lindsay or Danielle can't be friends with the ops if she wants to be friends with Lindsay. I don't think they will ever be best friends again. I think they will get to a point where Lindsay doesn't get activated over it.
So Carl Andy keeps going. Carl then excluded Lindsay from the engagement, excluded Danielle from the engagement, which hurt Danielle's feelings in a way that she didn't expect and caused her to spiral at the engagement party, which somewhat ruined it for Lindsay and Carl, because it still wasn't fucking ruined. Like they didn't even know about it until like days later. So it kind of ruined it in a way
so true. It didn't ruin it that night for them.
Friend told Lindsay.
Yeah, they called her the next week.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it kind of ruined it in a way that Danielle never intended for, for which Danielle has apologized tonight. And the whole cast is like, yup. And then Andy says, so then it snowballed through all these other things that are beyond two women who have loved and cared for each other for a long time. And the reason they're fighting so hard is because they still care about each other. And the whole cast goes, yup. And then Lindsay even fucking agrees.
I think when somebody else tells it to her, she can see the
Someone
points.
like Andy, because Andy's not gonna fucking deal with her bullshit. He doesn't give a fuck if Lindsay's mad at him.
Like, I just don't think, I think Lindsay has a hard time being receptive to people that like have activated her.
Yeah, agreed.
And so everyone on the opposite side of the couch, any point they make, she's not literally she's not listening to it. All she's thinking is, well, Danielle ruined my engagement party.
Do you think it also has to do with like how you said she sees herself as kind of like this senior person or like kind of the top dog or whatever, and she shouldn't have to deal with this? But when the actual top dog of the network is like, you're being fucking stupid, she's like, oh, agreed.
Yeah. It's like someone she holds in higher
She's
esteem.
just saying agreed. She can't argue with Andy. What? Are Andy's gonna be like, you sound dumb. Leave my show. Right? Like he's gonna be like, I don't give a fuck if you get activated on me. I have security.
Yeah, because then she would actually have to come. Like if she is going to argue with him, she would actually have to come with points. Like he would attack her argument.
Yeah, because he has nothing to lose. He doesn't have like a friendship with Lindsay Hubbard to be like,
he's not blinded by the
no.
emotions of this, or he wasn't in the thick of it. He literally spelled it out so plainly, and she can't argue because that is exactly what happened.
That's what happened. Danielle, though, wants to reiterate that her issue has never been with the couple. She had an opinion, but she will always support them to the day she dies.
Which is
so she's
huge.
Still fucking dying on this hill.
I think she's too loyal of a person. Like she will never hate them like Lindsay hated her this season.
So Danielle just wants this friendship to go back or start something new and figure it out, because that's what's been missing in her life and probably in Lindsay's. And this is where I was like, God, I wish Danielle would play a little hard to get. Like, I know she's putting her heart on her sleeve, which I respect and I love, but like, just fucking be like, I hope that Lindsay can fucking.
I have hope for the future.
Yeah.
Something simple.
Lindsay basically is like, listen, we have a special bond and hopefully we can find a version of that. And I was like, Lindsay doesn't want anything to do with Danielle.
I don't think Lindsay has like a gaping hole.
No.
For Danielle.
Because her whole thing is Carl. She has Lindsay has, I mean, I'm gonna assume I don't know a lot of Lindsay. She obviously has a lot of people that care about her at this engagement party, but I'm going to assume that Lindsay maybe doesn't have a ton of close friends.
Especially close in proximity, because when you're long distance friends, you expect less because you don't have to like meet up for lunches and there's not as much time you need to dedicate to those friendships.
Lindsay, I would say, doesn't have a ton of, and I would say her own friends, not someone she's like also friends with through Carl, like her own separate fucking friend. Or
because of this show is filming, like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, but everybody sitting on her side of the couch, honestly, everybody in this show, they're all convenient friends.
Well, what did Paige say? What girl do you talk to sans the people you've known for 6 months?
No, just people on the show do you talk to, which the only other person is Kyle.
Yeah.
Who could you still text?
No, Paige said girls. She was like, what girls? None. Zero. Yeah. So Kyle says he sees a path forward for this group next summer. He's positive. You don't just throw this away because people can't get along. You don't need to be besties. You just need to get drunk. But I disagree, because this show is built on friends. You should at least.
I don't think everybody needs to be best friends, though.
No, but we gotta not fucking hate each other.
Lindsay needs a friend in the house.
Yeah, which it's not Danielle anymore. Andy has shots for everyone, water for Carl, and they have cowboy hats on them. An ode to Kyle's birthday. Kyle does a toast. Through thick and thin, this crew figures it out. Let's send it together. And
how sweet.
Okay, overall, it was a fine fucking season, I guess. It was mediocre at best. Yeah, I don't think Lindsay and Danielle will ever be fucking friends again.
Well, we got at the end the like later that evening they had dinner together.
Oh, I didn't see that. They did?
Oh yeah, Carl had sent a picture with a text to Andy, and it basically said like, thanks so much for your help, like we got him to have dinner together. Like, yeah,
because Carl's not gonna fucking step up and do it. Andy had to do basically what Carl could have done all fucking summer. Whatever, fucking. Okay, so
and we got a Winter House preview.
Oh my God, did I miss everything?
Yeah, apparently. I posted the Winter House preview on our story.
On Peacock.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I want to get to Podcast by the People, though, because I'm going to miss you guys.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, Brittany said, Team Carl. He had me blubbering like a baby. I'm glad that he received a genuine apology from delusional Kyle. I can't stand Paige. I don't enjoy her on my screen at all. That's okay, Brittany, because what I read, she's a pretty terrible person. So
Yeah, Paige wasn't giving. I mean, she didn't have a
she had
storyline this
nothing to talk.
season.
This whole reunion was the three
Stupid.
amigos. That was it.
Well, it
That
was
the whole
dumb to
segment.
bring up the other stuff, but they had to because we talked about it this season, but it was all dumb.
Yeah. So, uh, Paige's relationship with Craig tells me a lot about her. Nothing positive though. Maya is a waste of TV time. I find her storyline inauthentic and boring. It's fucking inauthentic because she hides mics or tries to cover them. I don't blame Lindsay and Carl for not reaching out after her breakup. I find her behavior appalling, and people don't choose to project. Her attitude is, oh, is this about Danielle? Okay, her attitude is so unattractive to me, and cursing the day someone was born is a garbage thing to say. She's a nut, in my opinion. I can't stand her. I don't want her back next summer.
About Danielle.
Yeah.
I know, but like in a big life moment, that you reach out. I don't like if you have intentions of being friends with that person in the future, like they went on and the press tour was after, the breakup, but you just do the right thing and you send one text.
I think that you can send a text. It doesn't hurt anyone to just send the text to someone you've been friends with for that long.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I thought the cursing the day of Oliver was funny because I thought it was funny about him.
Yeah, screw him.
But yeah, honestly, I don't know if she'll be back, truthfully. Kyle is delusional. His belief that he's a well-behaved fun drunk is wrong. He can just get just as activated and belligerent as Lindsay.
Yeah,
that's true.
The only thing I think about the difference between, there is a large difference between old Carl and Kyle, but I do think Kyle is always able to put it together for work.
Yes, he was talking about Lindsay.
Oh yeah.
Brittany was talking about Lindsay. Okay, so then Brittany says, do people choose to project? I feel like it's not an active decision. So Danielle's insistent that she's not projecting means nada to me. Danielle's still not understanding where she went wrong is so unbelievable to me. Carl made an excellent point that if Danielle wanted to be involved, she would have asked to help. Glad Carl went off. Andy's moderation was horrible, in my opinion. They wouldn't even let Lindsay share her point of views or feelings. You're not gonna like this episode, Brittany.
Yeah, I think Lindsay has a hard time sharing her feelings. So I don't think it's the group stopping her. I think Lindsay's just really bad at expressing her own feelings. And I'm really bad at expressing my own too, like to people I care about.
Yeah, and I thought Andy's moderation went horrible, especially went well, especially now that I'm learning that they grabbed dinner.
Yeah, I think at the very end, especially, like it really hit home.
You just played it out. And like, listen, I love Hub House, but this was frustrating. Like, if you watch Jersey, it's frustrating to watch Teresa just like not get it. Like, that's what this was to me. Was Lindsay just couldn't ever be like, I understand, and then not bring up something we had moved past.
I do agree though. I do think Danielle does need to take more accountability on her side, but she was giving steps forward. Lindsay wasn't.
She should have been better about taking accountability for her action or her
with
reaction,
the engagement party. And also, I think she just needs to own, like, listen, I understand you don't want comments about your relationship, so I will not comment at all. Like, I just don't need to be involved.
Yes. But yeah, I think then Danielle has to realize, like, remove yourself from this relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, Tonette said, Kyle and Carl's moment, chef kiss. We had no idea Carl was carrying around that burden to lose his brother after not speaking. While my heart goes out for him, I just wish the girls could figure out their relationship and let bygones be bygones. Yeah, that Carl and Kyle moment made me sob. And these girls just cannot. I want
Kyle and Carl to talk about the girls alone.
Yeah. I want Carl to actually say his real fucking thoughts. Tonette said, that look Gabby gave, girl, I know that look and have given it to many people. That's a don't test me when I'm trying to be on your side look. Lindsay, watch yourself. Agreed. Even Gabby was trying to be like, shut up for 2 seconds.
Yeah, Gabby did like good, like being involved in that conversation.
Yeah. Tonette also says, Andy is my spirit animal in this episode. Carl would flounder without Lindsay's in the moment coaching. Carl and Lindsay's side of the couch give zero fucks about the engagement news or Danielle knowing and are just over it already. Carl is a coward because I feel he knows exactly what he did. Not to say anything to Danielle, but he's a people pleaser and is dodging Andy's questions.
Mhm.
Carl continues to say he feels bad, but I don't remember hearing an apology.
Well, don't
I
like
think
you
I
don't
think
have
he
to
said,
feel bad
"I'm
to be
sorry,"
honest.
but yeah.
I don't in my book Carl and Lindsay don't have to be sorry. And that's cool, but then just own the shit.
Yeah, just fucking say I'm
We
not
didn't want you
sorry.
there. We had a rocky relationship this summer. You were talking shit about our relationship. It wasn't a priority for us to let you in on the secret until 30 minutes before.
Agreed. So Tonad says, I'm putting a digital camera on my target list. Thanks, Corey. God, I love his playfulness. He's fucking, that was a hot thing to do.
I
to
bought
text
a
him.
child's camera. This sounds weird, for like $25 off Amazon, and took it to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. One of the funnest things I've ever done.
Oh, I love that. Last thing Tonad says, thank you girls for this podcast and giving us a platform to vent, bash, laugh, and so much more during the damn season. And most of all, for reminding us that summer should be fun.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Tonette. Yeah, it's not that fucking serious, honestly. I don't really give a fuck if Lindsay and Danielle are friends, truthfully.
I think friendship breakups really like strike people in a different way.
Yeah. Okay, just two more. So Casey says, I can't believe this is over. And this part 2 is basically all Carl, Lindsay, and Danielle. They literally brought Corey out for 2 sentences and no one else spoke the entire time. I did like that Andy summarized everything at the end and finally made Lindsay say, okay, I get it. Because even though I was over Danielle bringing it up all summer and her behavior at the engagement party, Lindsay's behavior during the final conversation was absolutely awful. It was the exact same smug face when Sierra was bringing up the Austin crap last summer. Lindsay thinks she's right and you can't tell her otherwise. One thing that really annoyed me was everyone's faces annoyed me and everyone's faces agreed was they were talking about Danielle and Robert's breakup and Lindsay said, you could have texted I need you rather than Lindsay reaching out. What the fuck? And that final summer combo, she's delusional.
Can you imagine if Danielle,
after that conversation, I'm not fucking saying I need you.
No, but can you imagine if Danielle did? There's no way Lindsay would have responded.
Lindsay
That would have been
like, are you sorry or not?
A nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So Casey says, I feel like they're going to keep the same cast this summer and then maybe they'll switch up the cast because Carl and Lindsay will be married. Kyle and Amanda will probably start their family and Paige will be in Charleston. Just my predictions. I agree with Tonette. Thanks for giving us space to chat about things. Summer house. Summer.
I think the show will end.
Okay. You're welcome, Casey. Meredith thinks this is the end.
No. After season 8, I think they've got one more. They'll end it on an even number.
And then
Everybody
they'll keep
will
Martha's
move on.
Vineyard.
Yeah.
Okay, Lauren. Last question or last thing. Podcast people, Lauren says, I went into the season hyped up to figure out what happened between Danielle and Lindsay. Oh my God, remember how excited we are?
Yeah.
We were by the end of the season, I was over it. I felt like Andy was more directive with Lindsay than he normally is in reunions, but I don't watch all of them. So tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. And I was happy that he was able to verbalize some of what Danielle was experiencing. The text they showed at the end, combined with an article I read this week where Sam said Danielle and Lindsay are starting to make up, was a nice cap the season. However, if this cast is all back next season and it's all about Danielle and Lindsay or related to this year's feud, I will be out. Time for new fun storylines. Thanks, ladies, for all the laughs this season. I feel like we're breaking up.
I know this feels like an end. I feel like they will have another season. How could they not? But yeah, just it will be very difficult if it is the same thing next year.
As shitty as this season was, I'm like really sad that we're losing our podcast by the people. I'm like really sad about it.
I am too. This was the coolest thing we added this year.
This was so fun. We're really gonna miss you guys, but don't worry, we're gonna be sending out like tons of shit in our off season. We will need a break. Please,
and
God, give us
and keep DMing on the posts.
Yes.
We just can't keep up with reading them aloud.
Yeah.
Week to week.
We're going to read them. We'll respond. Don't worry. We're going to be active on the Instagram. So DM us there. And while we are waiting for Summer House and Vanderpump Rules to come to Martha's Vineyard, Summer House. We're going to maybe look into doing old seasons of Summer House and Vanderpump Rules, maybe even a one season wonders. We'll let you know because they crank these shows out like crazy now. So we never have time for anything. But for sure, Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, that is like coming next.
Yeah. So thank you all so much.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.